We now have 4 editions of Windows Server 2012. We don't have Enterprise, we don't have Advanced, we have instead Data Center, Standard, Essentials, and Foundation. And let's talk about the difference between them and the licensing and what they can and can't do. Now the big one, of course, is Data Center. And the interesting thing about Data Center is that you can have as many virtual machines on it with the same license as you want. So in other words, I will go and buy 1 DVD of server, Data Center. I'll install it on a host. I'll turn that host into a Hyper-V host. It's got a lot of hardware. Lots of CPU cores, lots of RAM, high-speed disk. I'm then going to install lots of virtual machines in it. I can use the same DVD, the same license, and install as many guest operating systems as I want, so long as the hardware can handle it. So Data Center has no limits there. That's what's really cool about Data Center. Then there's Standard. Standard actually has the same core capabilities as Data Center. Like I remember the old versions of Windows, like Windows 2000 or 2003, when you had a difference between, say, Standard and Advanced or Enterprise. The lower version could only handle maybe 4 CPUs and so much RAM, and you had to buy the Enterprise or the Advanced version to have more CPUs and more RAM. No, Standard and Data Center can both handle as much CPU and RAM as you can throw in the box. The difference is the licensing. They have the same services, the same features. There is no difference except the licensing. So with Standard, I can take that same DVD that I bought, I can install it in a machine, it is a Hyper-V host, and then using that license I can have 2 guest operating systems, only 2. If I try to install more, they'll actually expire their licenses out. Now, can I put more virtual machines on a Standard? Absolutely, so long as you have different licenses. Standard can handle as many VMs as you can throw at it, so long as you have the licensing, and of course the hardware. So Data Center and Standard, really exactly the same thing, just limited by Hyper-V clients with the same license. We now have something called Essentials. This is really the old small business server. Essentials allows us to have 25 users with 50 network devices. And the assumption is that you don't have that many people. Essentials also lets you be a Hyper-V client and be a guest operating system, but you cannot be a Hyper-V host. Essentials cannot host VMs inside of it, but it can be a guest VM. So that's the difference there. There's no support for virtualization in terms of being the host. So that's Essentials. And then finally there's Foundation Server. Foundation is really stripped down, and we're going to talk about why we would buy any of these in just a second. With Foundation, no virtualization whatsoever. You cannot be the host, you cannot be the guest. You can have 15 users. And that's basically it. But you can be a remote access server, a VPN server, file and print server, domain controller, so long as you only need 15 users connecting. Now let's talk about the price break here. I'm not going to quote exact prices, but I know the general prices out in the market right now. Data Center is thousands of dollars, whereas Standard is like half the price, whereas Essentials is like half of that, whereas Foundation is just like a couple $100. So you might have a little branch office down there, they just need a file and print server, or maybe a little remote access server. Foundation might be perfect for them. The only problem is, realize that Essentials and Foundation both have some hardware limitations. With Essentials, you can have 2 cores. With Foundation, you can have 1 core. And that brings us up to the next topic here, with the licensing. If we buy Data Center, we can of course have all the CPUs we want, all the RAM we want, all the virtual machines that our hardware can handle. If we have the Standard license, we can have all the CPUs, all the RAM, like I said, 2 clients on the same license. That is 2 Hyper-V guest OSs on the same license. Any number of people connecting across the network, that's not a problem. It's just the guest VMs on the same license. Essentials, they basically said that you can have 2 CPUs, whereas with Foundation, 1 CPU. Now, here's the tricky part. Data Center and Standard, you actually buy the license per per CPU, per socket, not per core. So if you have one socket and a quad core, you can have 4 cores running on one socket. You pay for the license for one socket. That's true for data center and standard. So if you're going to have loads of VMs, naturally you want a lot of CPUs. If you have something with 4 sockets, you're going to have to pay for 4 licenses, and maybe each of those sockets has 2 or 4 cores. You don't pay for the cores, but you do pay for the sockets. With standard, same deal. You're paying per socket, but you are, of course, as we said, limited by how many Hyper-V client guest OSs you can have. Essentials, 2 CPUs, 2 sockets, period. Foundation, 1 socket.
Start with new learning now.